Could you talk us through the conversations with Glenn when the two of you got to the middle? Just sort of, looked like clearly quite a tough pitch to start on. Did you have a rough idea what might be defendable?
Yeah, like we sort of talked throughout the innings as a group, as a batting unit about what we think's par, and we were sort of discussing from the halfway point that anything over 150 would be a really good score. So yeah, when we came out there, it was just about trying to get underway, trying to face a few deliveries, get used to the surface, and sort of hope that we could make it up at the back end there. And yeah, obviously me and GP have batted together quite a lot over the last couple of seasons. We sort of know each other's games quite well, so we knew with that short side, if we could get in and have the left-hand, right-hand combination going at the end, then one of us could always be trying to attack, and the other one could be trying to basically get the other one on strike. So it ended up working quite well.
And in terms of the pitch, you've obviously both played a fair bit around the world. Was it just a case of sort of using those experiences of playing on pitches with real low bounce and looking at those to take them in today?
Yeah, well, we knew that it was the kind of surface that your sort of 8, 9, 10, 11 would struggle to come out and hit on. I think sometimes when you play on surfaces back in Australia, New Zealand, England's white ball surfaces, you can sort of bat guys like Adam Milne and Tim Southey to come out and score 10 off 4 or 10 off 3 at the end. But we knew because it was that extra bit challenging, it was a little bit slow, a little bit too paced, that me and Glenn would probably be the guys to have to take us that length deeper. And yeah, as we said, anything over that 150 was the first port of call, and once we could guarantee that, then it was about trying to see what we could get after that.
How's Ish Sodhi doing after the blow he took in the field?
Yeah, he's good. Ish is a pretty tough customer, so yeah, sort of histrionics from his part. So we took him off at the end there more as to give him a bit of a break and a bit of a rest. So we've only got one day before that Afghanistan game. Obviously, with the the concussion protocols and stuff, I assume he'll have to be monitored from that perspective. But at that stage, we're certainly expecting him to be fine.
And just lastly, how aware were you of the fact that there were 1.4 billion or so Indians cheering on your opponents? Somewhere between 0 and 1%, I think. We're pretty good as a unit at sort of keeping what's necessary to concentrate on in the front of our minds, and there's been a few occasions over the last couple of months where there's been a lot of people talking a lot about us off the field, so it doesn't bother us too much. So it was just about going out on the field and getting done what we had to get done. And obviously there were a few different permutations around run rate as well after the game, but for us it was just about winning the game, moving on to Afghanistan in a couple of days. Cheers, Jimmy.
Hey Jimmy, it's Andrew Vorman from Stuff back in New Zealand. Congratulations. You and Glenn ran 10-2s while you were out there. How important was that in terms of creating a bit of pressure?
Extremely important. I think when you play on a service like that, it's not going to be like it is, in Dunedin or the Cake Tin or Eden Park. You're not going to come out and, hit 4 or 5 boundaries in 10 balls. So it's a lot more about trying to put pressure on bowlers in different ways. And I think we were talking after the game. I think we got mid-70s, 74, 75 or something off the last 5 overs. So it was certainly a different way of skinning the cat. But we sort of knew that, as I mentioned earlier, anything above that 150 would be a challenging total, and GP is obviously a pretty quick customer, so it was a bit of a challenge for me to keep up with him, but the old legs have got a little bit of pace in them still, so it wasn't too bad.
From your perspective, how good was it to sort of have a decent bat? Obviously haven't had to do much so far at this World Cup, but good to be able to contribute, no doubt.
Yeah, it's the nature of how we play our T20 cricket, to be honest. I think even back in New Zealand, I don't have the stats in front of me. I can't imagine I would have faced more than 20 balls very often for New Zealand. So, it's all about trying to load up the back end with wickets in hand and come out and be explosive. And that's just the nature of the game in this team. I'm batting a lot in the nets at the moment. Luke Ronke's, putting a lot through his shoulder for me to try and keep a nick off the park and away from the game. So it's just about being as free as I can be and as clear as I can be in my game plans when I do get out there. And the nature of being that number 6 all-rounder is that you're going to be tasked with the game when the game's in hand. So there's going to be in those pressure situations, whether it's today or a semi-final or a final moving forward. So I'm always ready for that, and certainly no excuses from a number of balls faced point of view.
You mentioned net run rate. Obviously, it's pretty simple now. It's just win on Sunday, and you're in the semi-finals. Is it good to have just some clarity in that regard? I mean, obviously you're trying to win every match, but you now know it's just going to be a simple case of getting the result?
Yeah, look, honestly, there's been a little talk about that from the outside. I think for us, even before the very first game of the tournament, we knew it was knock over one of India and Pakistan and win the rest of the games and you're through. It's a pretty simple equation. So, look, we've been focusing on each game as it comes. There was certainly zero disrespect to Namibia or Scotland from a world rankings point of view going into each game. We sort of knew that all the teams have enough quality to knock anyone over on their day. So for us, it's just about going out and taking care of our games. And I'm sure at the start of the tournament, if we'd been offered a virtual quarter-final against Afghanistan last game, we would have taken that. So we'll prepare for the next game just as we have the 3 or 4 leading up to it, and hopefully we can be on our game again in a couple of days.
Yeah, you've obviously come through, just to finish off, these 2 matches with Namibia and Scotland. You have been tested at times, and it must be good to sort of have that in the middle of a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a foot in each camp, isn't it? If teams struggle to win, 4 or 5 down and their tail end needs to bat, then people say they're not on top of their game. If they win 1 or 2 down, then people say their middle order hasn't had any batting. So there's always going to be people finding a reason that you're not in form or you're not going very well. So for us, we're confident in the way we go about our game. We've got a settled team now. We can move forward and prepare for each game, as I mentioned, as we always do. And whether it's Guppy hitting 100 again, or whether it's me and Sat or Tim Southey trying to finish off innings, we've had plenty of experience at both of them over the last couple of years. So we certainly won't be worried either way.
No, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Jimmy. My question is to you is that how the bio bubble is affecting the players mentally, and what you do during the bio bubble, like when you're not allowed to roam properly.
Yeah, it's certainly less than ideal, I think. When I look back at the 2019 One Day World Cup in England, it was before everything kicked off. Guys were going off and having time away from the team and rejoining, and everyone was always fresh mentally, whereas this tournament's been a lot more about spending more time with guys, being in each other's pockets all the time. So I think that's where the culture of the team becomes really important. And we're really fortunate. We've got a bunch of guys that really like each other's company. There's certainly a strong culture as far as ones I've been a part of. So there's just a lot of table tennis and a lot of coffee and that sort of thing going on. So you're certainly looking forward to touching down home whenever that time comes again. But we certainly have our eyes firmly focused on the task ahead. And it's just a case of getting through each game. And there's only a couple of weeks left or so now. So it's not too much of a concern.
Yeah, Jimmy. So I just want to say all the best for the upcoming game and hope you bring the Black Caps again and ICC trophy back home.
Thank you.